All right, let's take a look at this week's Fusion 360 challenge. This one's going to be a three-parter, so hopefully they're three small parts that are easy to follow. What we're going to be doing is making a simple little address sign. In the video, we'll be doing the address for a school, but for your own assignment, you can do one for yourself. First thing I want to do is, like we were doing in the last one, is set up some parameters. So I'm going to go modify and change parameters. And I'm going to add some dimensions for my sign. So I want the height. I want the height of my sign to be 150 millimeters. I want the length of my sign to be, let's say, 600 millimeters. The thickness of the material, I want that to be, let's go 17 again. So just some basic things there. Easy enough to do. So once I've got that, I can go OK. And I'm going to start a sketch. Now, this is for this specific assignment, we're going to be looking at CNC technology. So it's kind of, we want to be careful where we're picking. To do our sketch, we want to be on the XY plane. So that is this one here. There's a green plane, which represents Y, and a red plane that represents X. Now, if we pick the wrong one, we can fix this later, but it will make your life a lot easier if we pick the XY plane, so the green, red plane. All right, so I click on that, and I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle for my address sign. So if there's my rectangle tool, come down here. And I want this to be my height by my length. So I type those in, enter, and now I've got a parametric rectangle that I can start for my sign. So from there, I'm just going to go finish sketch and extrude. And I'm going to take this and we are going to extrude it that thickness. Oops, close that, hit the wrong keys again. All right, so here, we want this to be our thickness, and OK. So now we're left with just the basic shape of what our address sign is going to look like. Next thing is we need to actually put the address on there. So making sure that I'm still looking at the front, okay? Still looking at that XY plane from the front. I'm going to create a new sketch on the surface. So now I'm back in this space. Now, I'm going to put a rectangle around here eventually, but first I want to deal with the text. So if I come down here, I've got a text tool. If I click on that, it'll allow me to place text on my screen. I'm just going to come down to the lower left corner. Seems my mouse is being a little silly. I'm just going to come down here and click. And I can move this around now that it didn't want to be in the right spot. And we're going to type in our address. So today we are at 7 Cypress Ave. Now you could drop the Ave if you want. It just depends how much space and how big you want this to be. Now if we look, it is quite small. So we can play with our sizes here. So let's say I want this to be 100. Okay, that looks a little better in the height. Bit long. Now I could adjust that, but the font's not very nice either. So you do have the ability to come through and pick some different fonts. There's tons. Just pick something that you like. The more complicated the font though, the harder it is going to be to, like that will be very, very difficult to machine because there's so many little pieces to it. So you want to keep things keep the lines of the letters thick, but simple. Let's see what we have here. Quite a few. You can see Fusion has got just a ton of built-in fonts. Tahoma. Oh, that's not going to work. Too thin. Nope. That's getting better. Almost there. That's way too detailed. And again, you can pick the one you want. There's tons. I'm just really looking for something that's going to fit on the screen. Alright, so this one's looking okay. I think for the case of my address here, I'm going to bring that up and I'm going to drop the av. So it's just 7 Cypress. Center it up best you can. And I'm going to go okay. So now I've got that text laid out. Now you could go in, you could make that 7 larger. You can play with this all you want. But in the case of this tutorial, we're just going to keep things simple. Alright, so the next step, I'm going to take a rectangle. And I'm going to draw a rectangle in around my address. Now I've got no constraints on this. So the next thing that I really want to do is put in some construction lines that I can dimension off of. To do that, I'm going to come grab my line tool. And I'm going to come over to my sketch palette and select construction. This is going to give me a different type of line that I can use to dimension things, but it won't affect extrusions. So I move my mouse over till I get that triangle, which means midpoint. I'm going to draw a line down, so midpoint to midpoint. Midpoint there to midpoint there. So I've got my construction lines in. Now I can come back and go sketch dimension. And I want the distance from here to here. Let's make this length divided by 2. So length divided by 2, that would make it the whole length of our piece. So let's say length divided by 2 minus 25. So we've wrote a little equation there which is going to make this, so this thickness here is 25 mils. Now I could come in here, if I wanted that a bit thinner, we could say 10, and then that's going to make it a bit thinner. So it's up to you where you want that. I think I'm going to keep it at 25 just so I've got some space to, actually let's say 20, just to screw it in. Over here I'm going to do the same thing. I can just click on that dimension and that'll take it. We're going to dimension from here to here. Now again, this was height, so if I say height divided by 2 minus that, what did I say, 20, that'll make it the same dimension, and from here to here I'll do the same thing. So it looks good. I've got my font sitting in there. Now at this stage I could hit escape, I could click on this, move it around, just get it so it's pretty much where you want. You just want to make sure you got even distances above the letters and in between. So, like that, I can go finish sketch and extrude. And I want to take this and I want to extrude it in, let's say 6 millimeters. Let's go -6, and that's going to cut it in. And you'll see that my font has disappeared. Now, to get that back, I can come to sketches, and I can turn the sketch back on. So there's my text again. And I'm going to go extrude again, grab that font, and this time instead of extent, I'm going to change it to object. Click on the back, and go OK. And what that's going to do is extrude it through. I can turn off that sketch now, and you can see there is my 7 Cypress address sign for the school. So that's part 1. I'm just going to save this just to make sure that we don't lose it. And we'll save it to a folder that's not the robotics account. Save that to demo projects and save. So now we've got that file ready to go for the next video. Hopefully that shouldn't take you too long.